It's Tuesday, the 4th of April, 2023. Welcome to the Fast Five by Fear and Greed, where we give you the top 5 business stories you need to know in just 5 minutes. I'm Michael Thompson, and good morning, Sean Aylmer.
Good morning, Michael.
Sean, 5 stories, 5 minutes. Let's jump straight into story number 1. Software leader WiseTech Global, gold digger Newcrest Mining, and gaming machine manufacturer Aristocrat Leisure are the best performing large cap stocks during the March quarter, with banks among the worst, but it's the defensive stocks that attracted most interest.
Yes, now compared to other bourses, the S&P ASX 200, which closed the quarter up just 2.7%, didn't do so well. For example, the S&P 500 on Wall Street was up 8%. The tech stock heavy Nasdaq was up 20%. Basically, the big 4 banks went backwards. That never helps. So too the oil and gas plays, Woodside and Santos. The trend that really showed through was that investors wanted safer stocks among the large caps, and we're defining that as the top 20 stocks. They're the companies that tend to not shoot the lights out, but also not underperform when things are tough. And with interest rates rising and the chance of a recession real, investors looked for safety. Woolies jumped 15%, for example. Coles was up 10%. Transurban, the toll road operator, was up 10%. Goodman, 9%. Telstra finished 7% higher. The 3 best, though, are probably names you haven't heard much about. WiseTech, great software company, up 32%, mirroring what many Wall Street tech stocks did. Newcrest, the gold digger, was up 29%, and that's very much on the back of a higher price of gold. And Aristocrat Leisure, it makes gaming machines. It was dumped late last year, so its starting point was, relatively speaking, below some of its peers. All in all, Michael, it's been a pretty lacklustre start to the year on the Australian equity market, at least compared to other markets. Mind you, if you had 4 quarters like March, you'd end up with 11% for the year. Everyone would be happy about that.
Yeah, certainly would be. And of course, we're not an investing podcast, so make sure you go and get some professional advice before making investment decisions. On to story number 2 now, Sean. And the federal opposition is set to announce its position on the voice referendum this week, as criticism of the party following the weekend's defeat in the Aston by-election escalates.
A party room meeting is expected in Canberra tomorrow. Now, remember, Parliament isn't sitting, so most of the pollies have gone back to their electorates. We'll have to come back to Canberra. It's set to decide a response to Labor's draft constitutional changes. Media reports suggest the coalition won't push for a rival model, but will ask for changes. Yesterday, Shadow Attorney General Julian Leeser was at the National Press Club. He provided a pretty good indication of what the opposition wants. He said the proposed constitutional clause allowing Indigenous voice to make representations needed to be better explained. Just on that by-election you mentioned, former Prime Minister Malcolm Turnbull came out yesterday. He said that the Liberal Party needs to move back to the centre, but that's difficult for Peter Dutton because of his reputation as a hard right cultural warrior.
Sean, story number 3, the Reserve Bank Board meets today to decide whether to hike rates for the 11th consecutive time. And data on prices and the building sector released yesterday supports the case for a pause.
Yes, that's right. The Melbourne Institute headline inflation gauge rose 0.3% in March. It's up 5.7% over the year. Not a great predictor of the actual numbers, but it shows the direction and it's going down in terms of prices. Bureau of Stats data shows building approvals rose 4% in February, much lower than expected. House approvals were 11% higher, while multi-units fell 8%. Now, multi-unit approvals are down more than 50% compared to a year ago, which is a big, big problem for housing supply over the next few years, especially as migration is rising. House approvals are down 13.6% compared to a year ago. That's mostly on the back of higher interest rates. What's it all mean for rates? Well, financial markets have priced in no rate rise today, and the consensus among market economists is pretty much the same.
All right, story number 4. Coles has agreed to acquire 2 automated milk processing facilities, one in Victoria, one in New South Wales, for around $105 million as it looks to shore up supplies of milk. Now, Sean, I know you're a bit of a bovine enthusiast. What have you got for us?
Absolutely. Did you know there are about 1.34 million milking cows in Australia, producing 8,554 million litres of milk? That's according to Dairy Australia. Australia has 4 big dairy groups. All are looking for new ways to make money. Now, one of them is Canadian-listed Saputo, which entered Australia 10 years ago. It bought Warrnambool Cheese and Butter Factory Company, then Murray Gold. Now it's selling processing facilities to Coles. For Coles, it means getting closer to the dairy farmer because the processing plants actually buy the milk from the farm gate. That causes some unease in the sector, fears about the big supermarkets pressuring the farmers. It's been a hard industry to make money in recent times. Farmers are leaving. Coles needs surety of supply. I reckon there'll be more deals like this in coming months or years, Michael.
Last one, Sean. Story number 5. The world's youngest Prime Minister, Finland's Sanna Marin, has conceded defeat in the Nordic country's parliamentary election, meaning there's no country now being led by a millennial.
Disappointing for you millennials, Michael. Marin was a rock star of her generation. She was the youngest Prime Minister at 37 years of age when she won the election in 2019 and has been an advocate of defending Ukraine. But in the age of social media, the irony, her off-duty activities were also highly scrutinised. She was caught on private videos partying with her friends, creating a controversy in socially conservative Finland. Very famous. She's been on the cover of Vogue, on the cover of Time. She has 1 million followers on Instagram. While she remained very popular among many Finns, particularly young moderates, she also antagonised some conservatives, particularly around what she spent money on, pensions, for example. She was also criticised for boisterous partying with social media influencers at the height of Europe's energy crisis. Anyway, she was voted out over the weekend.
All right, that's it. The top 5 business stories in 5 minutes. Thank you, Sean.
Thank you, Michael.
It's Tuesday, the 4th of April, 2023. Remember to hit follow on the podcast. And if 5 minutes isn't enough, you can find our longer daily show called Fear and Greed, wherever you listen to podcasts. And don't forget the Amazon Echo smart speaker range comes with Alexa built in. Simply say, Alexa, play the Fast 5 by Fear and Greed podcast to catch the latest episode. And you can grab yours now at amazon.com.au. I'm Michael Thompson, and that was the Fast 5 by Fear and Greed. Have a great day.